Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul, right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I am your host, Sara Troy, and my guest today is Hema Vyas, all the way from London, the UK, and her mission is Heart Resonance, a rebirth. Boy, are we in a rebirth right now. The heart is a vital organ. She says it's an intelligent energy field all of its own. It's a portal to a higher consciousness, and that consciousness is being tugged on us at the present moment. As you've heard me say before, the universe is here to shake us up, to wake us up, for us to step up and change it up. And we're very much in the step it up at the present moment. And Hema's mission is to provide a direct experience to the power of the heart and move people into what uniquely terms a state of gold. In her words, nothing can tarnish or destroy the sustainable and highly valuable element of gold. So when we excavate all that you really are, you become invincible in your true selves. She's been doing this for 27 years. She's a psychologist, spiritual mentor, retreat leader, and speaker, and so much more. And we're going to dive right into her and find out more about her why, her what, her how, and how you can benefit from it. Welcome to the show, love.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was such a lovely introduction. So
Thank you.
I'm delighted to be here.
I really like the reference to the gold, because when you look at other metals, they tarnish, or they're cold and they're not very warming in any way. But gold is just something that it has a shimmer. It's also flexible because you can mold it, but it doesn't tarnish, and it's something that even over time wears well. So, referring the heart to gold, I think, is a beautiful thing, because we are asking the heart to expand. We're asking it to wake up, to step up, to pour itself out in love in everything that we do. So reference to gold is very beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I couldn't agree more. And also because the heart is, if you think of it in terms of gold, it's able to still remain gold even when there's lots of things that we put in that sort of aren't gold. And so the excavation is really about releasing all of those things that we've been holding on in our hearts in order to get to that state of purity and that state of gold.
Do you think that the shaking up and the waking up right now, asking us to step up, etc., is that releasing? It's the releasing of what is not serving us anymore. It's the releasing of the fear. It's the releasing of feeling paralyzed and that you can't do anything. And it is in turn empowering us in that stepping up as a global community for whatever platform you're stepping up for, empowering each other. Igniting each other's golden heart. The Celtic runes, Haglas, disruption. We're in that wonderful phase of disruption, and disruption is beautiful because it actually allows us to create.
Absolutely. I think what's happening is, what's meant to happen in ourselves is that we're meant to be, as we grow older, we're meant to process and release stuff that doesn't serve us, and we're meant to become more wise and, spiritual in many ways. And I think over the centuries, we've lost that connection as humanity and human beings. And what's happened is over centuries, I feel we become more and more dense and more caught up in stories and ancestral stuff and things that we believed long time ago that might have served us back then no longer serves us. And I think that the planet eventually had enough and said, okay, we've got to do something about this. And so the shake up is really that. It's really giving us an opportunity to go, who are we? What do we believe? And what do we want to believe as we move into the next phase? And so I agree it's so wonderful that we're going through this,
Yeah.
although it's probably very painful for a lot of people.
But, you know, pain released is an aha moment. You know, you
It
realize,
is.
why was I so clenched up? Because you were holding on, you know, taking that breath, letting it go. You know,
That's
it doesn't
right.
mean you forget it. You know, even when you forgive, you don't forget. It doesn't
That's
mean you're
right.
condoning something that was done to you, but it means that you're no longer a prisoner to it.
That's right, absolutely. Yes. I feel like pain, we need to release the pain. We have held it physically, emotionally, and spiritually. We've held on to pain. And so now is the time to begin to clear that space and allow space for joy, to allow space for, you know, real prosperity. And you know, according to sort of the Hindu scriptures, we have entered the golden age. So, you know, bring it on.
Yes.
Yes.
We're most certainly at a time period of conscious awakening. And as you said, you know, back in the old days, let's say 150, even 200 years ago, before the industrial age, etc., you know, a village was only as strong as its participants. Everybody had a role in that village, even the village idiot. Everybody
Yes.
had a role. And
Yes.
that village was only as strong as everybody stepping up for each other and
That's right.
supporting each other. And that was your community, and you looked after your community. And
Yes.
then somehow the industrial age started dividing. All right, it expanded. It allowed us to explore and see further and bring back, you know, other creative things. But it also started detaching us. And I think
Yes.
that's what's happened, is that in our creativity of expansion and
Hmm.
all these wonderful gadgets that we're using right now and everything else, we've lost that beautiful, energetic, spiritual connection that we had with Source, with each other. And that is
Yes,
something we desperately need to get back, isn't it?
it is. Yes. And that is, I think it's a direct experience of the heart that allows us to do that. You know, because, you know, we become so secular, we become so isolated, but we become disconnected from ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in disconnecting from society, disconnecting from that sort of tribal group energy. Like you say,
Mm.
everybody had a role, but everybody fitted perfectly into
Yeah.
that. Like nature, you know, we fit so perfectly with nature, but it's our disconnect from others, our disconnect from nature, and therefore ultimately I'd say it's a disconnect from ourselves and our heart. And you know, with, you know, sort of the emergence of science and the
Mm.
brain and understanding the brain, we kind of relegated the heart for a very long time. And that was part of that, like you say, the industrialization, and it was necessary and it was
Mm-hmm.
beautiful and it's led us to where we are. But now it's time for a renaissance of the heart, I
Yes, an
believe.
integration again, you know. And
Yes.
you know, when people say to me, "What's the one thing you would say to people?" and I say, "Get out of your head."
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know
Yes,
that the soul, the heart, and the spirit all have their own intellect.
they
And if
do.
we bring them into the conversation, you know, I always say,
Hmm.
with the soul ignites the truth into the heart and in that truth will give it to the spirit into action, and the mind will know what the mind needs to know when it needs to know it. This is
That's so
data
true.
up here. And
That's
we've
right.
we've got so caught up in data that we're on a treadmill the whole time.
That's
And
right.
we haven't listened to the heart, the spirit, or the soul
Yes.
into understanding what that knowledge is. What is wisdom?
Yes.
It's understanding what the knowledge means. It's not knowledge for knowledge's sake.
No. It's how to apply that as well. So, and you know what you're talking about is something I talk about. It's very much about an alignment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every part of us is important, and so when there's an alignment between, like you say, the spirit, the soul, the mind, the heart, when there's an alignment, then I think we function at our best,
Yes.
and we're able to be so much more than we think we are when we're disconnected and we're disparate. So, yes,
Yeah,
alignment.
disconnected does bring desperation, doesn't it?
It does.
Mm,
It
you know.
does. Yes.
And I think because we get too much into yes, but why? Yes, but why? Or what if? And I always say, sit on your butt. You know, this that's
Yes.
what the butt's for, you know. It's the what if should always be in a what if it's possible, not what if
Yes.
something's going to go wrong.
Absolutely.
Because that is where we're putting the energy. And I love the fact that you refer to the heart as this beautiful energy presence, which we are
Yes,
all energy, aren't we? We're just
we are.
tuned.
Yes, and the energy sort of forms to create our body and forms to create all our aspects of ourselves. But when we recognize that essentially we're energetic beings, then we begin to trust. And I think that trust is really what's needed to get out of our head, get
Mm,
out of the what if and the but and the negative what if,
mm.
as you say, because the positive what if is wonderful. That's where we should be putting our attention. And that comes from being in alignment with ourselves, and we're able to think more clearly, we're able to feel more intuitively what's really right for us, and we're able to act with confidence, and that's so
Participation in
necessary.
our own lives. This is something
Yes,
I feel that people don't realize. Even if they come to you, it's with the thing of, well, you fix me. Well, while you're
yes,
pointing the finger, there's three pointing back at you. No, you're
that's
there
right,
to guide people through the process with the right skills and tools so
that's
they
right.
can apply it to themselves. And a lot of people don't want to take ownership of that. Want to
Yes,
download an app or order it from, Cosmos Amazon, and they don't realize that it does take participation in your own life and an
yes,
ownership of your own choices, good or bad, ownership of them, and that you're there to guide them on that process. But if they're not willing to step up, how can you help them?
that's right. Absolutely. And they have to take responsibility and discipline.
Mm,
We live in a world, I really believe that, a lot of people, not everybody, of course, but a lot of people want shortcuts.
yes.
The app, like you say, and when they realize that there's work to be done, they're sort of not always interested.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a shame, because they're missing out on, really, that is a journey of life.
Yes, it
It
is.
is about clearing and releasing and doing the work, having discipline, and being, like you say, a participant in your own life, taking responsibility for the choices, but also the outcomes. And so when there's an outcome that you don't love, it's recognizing you have power to change the next time, instead of feeling like a victim and thinking, well, that's going to happen again and again and again. It only happens again and again and again if we don't do something different, take action positively.
Right. And, then there comes the question, but how? Well, that's
Yes,
when they turn to you because you know the how.
yes,
Right?
yes,
You've taken the
absolutely.
journey, you've made your own self-discovery, it's become your calling, your instrument in life, and you're
Yes,
building that orchestra
that's right.
of people to play their own music and find their own orchestra in life. That's all you can be. And I think this is what somehow is kind of the wake-up call to a lot of people. Well, if I don't like what's going on, I've got to step up. And
Hmm.
if I've got to change things, I've got to change it up. And that means starting with me.
Yes, absolutely.
Be
It
the change
means,
you seek.
well, that's right. Yes, be the change you want to see in the world, as
Mm,
Gandhi very famously said a long
mm.
time ago.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yes,
So the how is just the willingness, isn't it? The willingness to explore, to
yes.
to discover, the reasons I do all these shows. Here you have an orchard of wisdom ready for clicking. And you
Beautiful.
find that person that you resonate with. I can
Yes,
hear you. I believe you are speaking to me, and that energy is connecting. And then you allow that person to guide you with the skills and the tools in your backpack of life as you're willing to go through your own journey. Now,
absolutely.
you obviously went through your own journey to get where you are today. So
Hmm.
let's turn the clock back a bit to
Hmm.
how did this start for you? The willingness to take ownership and explore your own self-discovery.
So I've had quite an interesting journey. I would say that, I was born in Africa, spent about a year in India when I was very little, and then moved over to the UK. And I think, my journey started with realizing that I was different in so many
Mhm,
ways. And it wasn't just about the color of my skin or my cultural background, but I realized that, I was born almost with a kind of inherent spirituality.
mhm,
And, so, at a very young age, I would have a lot of people turn to me for advice. sort of a very wise young soul, I would say. And that's when I sort of realized that so many people, so many children at that time didn't quite understand life the way that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was lovely because I was able to contribute to how they perceive things, to help them perceive things that made sense and that also allowed them to feel lighter in themselves. So that was the beginning. I just had a way of people opening up to me. As I grew up, I realized that I had a natural sort of, I gravitated towards people who had issues, problems. I could see them in a way that others didn't. And they were always surprised when I could say, oh my gosh, what's wrong? And they'd be like, oh, how do you know something's
Mm-hmm.
wrong? There is something wrong, but how do you know? And I was like, it's just a feeling.
Yeah.
It's a sense,
Yeah.
They didn't have to say anything. They didn't have to use words. So that was, the beginning of realizing maybe this is something I should pursue. Later on, I followed the academic route of becoming a psychologist, but that wasn't really the sort of main part of my growth. My main growing, I think, really happened when I discovered spirituality, because that spoke to me. That really encompassed so much more than just behavior and the brain and
Yeah.
the mind, which is what psychology was
Yeah.
really predominantly back then focused on. And but even with all the spiritual teachings and all the spiritual learning, I had a moment where I thought, but where's the heart in all of this? Love stories talk about the heart, poetry talks about heart, love and, the heart sort of go hand in hand, but surely love is the glue that holds the universe together. And so, I started sort of writing my book many, many years ago. And it's, sort of been in the making for a long time. But it was because I was so interested in the heart that I started researching and realized that very few people talked about it and very few people had written about it. And that's when I decided that that was going to be the thing that I would focus on, because I felt it was time. This is going back about 15 years ago, that people really began to understand the purpose of the heart, the physical heart, as well as the sacred heart, the spiritual heart. And I started using it with my clients and really tuning into my heart space and recognizing that I could see the problem behind the problem for people.
Yeah.
And that's what they needed. They didn't need more steps, 3 steps to. They needed, because human beings are complex. And we're so individual, and we all have similar issues, but we're so individual in how we get to them and what they're made up of. And that's when I realized that is where the heart energy comes in, because the heart is able to communicate the individuality as well as the connectedness of all beings. And so
you say that you studied spirituality, but no, I think all you did is you discovered how spiritual you really were.
yes, absolutely.
Right. So I think it's instead of studying it, it's that you learned to understand it more, because you had been it and you had been doing it all along.
Yes, absolutely.
I just had Margaret Van Coops on, who was a child, 3 and 4, would sit on people's laps and heal them. She had no idea what she was doing. People who kind of didn't know, except they felt a lot better, after she had sat on their laps, and she was that healer and that spiritual thing. And fortunately, she had family that was supportive of it.
Yes.
Right. And that makes a huge difference.
It does.
I am a true colors coach, the 4 key personalities, and I am a screaming blue, the air sign. I've got a constant be and flow, and all my family were the golden green, where don't shake it up, don't wake it up, keep with tradition. And so it kind of limited me and what I could do. But like you, I had advice for people, and I just called it the knowingness. People would say, how do you know? I don't know, I just know.
Yes.
It's not for me to know how or where. It's just that you needed that information, and they channeled it through me at that time. And I didn't even understand half the time when I was a kid what I was saying. Yet it meant something to them. And that
Absolutely.
that's living in your spirit. But studying the spirituality is understanding how the mechanics work, and to understand it's all energy, isn't it? It's about the fluidity and the flow of energy.
Absolutely. And, you know, when I say studied spirituality, what I mean is, like, you know, as you say, I was always spiritual. Suddenly, there was a label
Yeah.
for what I was doing instinctively,
Yes.
intuitively, what was part of my being,
Mm.
you know, whereas through my academia, there was no
No.
label for it. There was no understanding of it, even at university, you know.
No.
So it was really lovely to sort of come across people who were speaking my
Mm.
language. Yeah, and
And
that's
it's
so
nice that scientists right now, because of
yes,
quantumness and
yes,
the quantum physics and the quantum spirituality, is they're realizing people who are spiritual, that live in a spiritual state of being, are living at a higher frequency,
that's
a higher
right.
hertz, a higher energy, and they're
Yes,
resonating on the love platform.
yes, that's
Right.
right.
And so they understand it. It is actually measurable. It's not just, kumbaya and I'm abstaining from life. It is a fuel, an energy
Yes,
source that,
yes,
comes from the soul, has to go through the heart to mean
yes,
anything, to understand what action we need to take and what to extract from our minds of the intellect in order to do it. But it's understanding that energy. And when you open the doors to that, and you don't have to be a quantum physics person. You don't need to understand the science. You just need to understand the energy and how it needs to flow and go with it.
yes, absolutely. But it's so wonderful that science is actually making it quantifiable and tangible.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, once upon a time, if you talked about it, there'd be nothing to back it up. And because of the way people's minds work,
Yeah.
they need that, you know.
Yeah.
So people like you and I will understand, because you've lived, you've grown, you are that as well, as am I. So we can understand each other when we speak. But when we
Mm-hmm.
speak to other people, it's like, well, okay, but what exactly do you do?
Yeah.
And it's really hard to put it into
Yeah.
words, isn't it?
Gobbledygook.
It's or woo woo.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But that's more and more and more now. I think people are getting hungry for it. I've referred from
Yes.
2012, when the energy shift came up, and the volume. I've said that the universe is turning our volume up. On our
Yes.
energy, on our hearts, on our spirit, and that third dimensionalists are people that still wish to live in hate and pain and suffering and inflicted on others, and just unwilling to heal,
Yes.
unwilling to heal themselves
Yes.
so they could stop hurting others. And then you have the fourth dimensioners, or the people on the bridge, wanting to wake up, wanting
Yes.
to there has to be more. How do I ignite
Yes.
my heart? And the fifth dimensioners of the door opening of, this is how, and then obviously where they go, wherever they need to go after that. But
Yes.
it's been very interesting watching it since 2012, how the shift is happening. And just take what has happened here in North America in the last 2 weeks with
Mm-hmm.
George Floyd, that was brutally murdered by the police. And this has been ongoing for ever. When
Yes.
hasn't it been 400 years of persecutions?
Mm-hmm.
And the camel, the straw that broke the camel's back,
Yes.
and I think it's because people had been locked up. And during that time, it was a wonderful time of their own self-discovery, because it was a time
Yes.
to reflect, to review, to renew, and a
Yes.
time to go, I can't go back out into the world the way it was.
Absolutely.
So that synchronicity of everything happening, and everybody standing up right now, stepping up, and in
Yes.
that empowerment of each other, they're
Yes.
literally raising their energy into a
Yes.
beautiful chorus, aren't they? Not the
Absolutely.
protesters and the violenters. I'm talking about the people that are standing up in peaceful protest.
Absolutely. And the people who are having the conversations, the
Mm-hmm.
people who are having the discussions, not just, you know, a reaction, but a response. You know,
Yes.
what do we do? What happens next? You know, it is time for us to wake up as humanity. It is time for us to recognize, you know, what's really important. And what's
Mm-hmm.
important is life.
Yes.
You know, and we've lost that a little bit, you know, with all the sort of politics of
Mm-hmm.
things, and, you know, with all the, you know, sort of what's right, what's wrong, and with divisions and separation.
The
And it's time.
jadedness. Yeah.
Exactly. And like you said, this has been going on for so long, but I do think that worldwide pause,
Mm.
did give some people the opportunity to really, really reflect. Others continue to be in their sort of
Mm.
asleepness, if you like,
Yeah.
just kind of continuously doing something that they were doing before and can't wait for it to be over. And then there are other people who've been taking the time to, get involved with conversations, podcasts, listening to
Yes.
people, listening to what else is going on,
Yeah.
having time to do
Yeah.
something outside of the normal. So it's been really wonderful
Yeah.
and yet incredibly difficult.
Yes, it all depends on what side of the coin. And we've had, numerous deaths. But,
Yeah.
when we look at pandemics through the ages,
Yeah.
we've had a lot, but have we ever had a pandemic that hit the world all at the same time?
That's right. I don't think we have.
And could we have survived that if it wasn't the era of electronics where we could communicate with each other,
Yes.
right? And not just communicate, friends are doing shows, but how everybody, that was on TV is now Zooming,
Yeah.
right? And more in-depth conversations are going on than they were in the studio. And it's
Exactly.
just I'm seeing a wonderful shift that I think is going on, a wonderful wake up.
Yes.
And for whatever it is that's woken them up, the COVID, stepping into gratitude for what you have,
Yes.
because you never know who's got it. I had a cousin-in-law who did get it. He was 3 weeks in the incubator. My landlady has lost 6 people to COVID, friends and colleagues,
Oh,
and her brother dropped dead of a heart attack as well during this. So 7 people in 2 months is a lot of people to lose.
it
She
is.
is 86, but she's one of these people she's like the ever-ready bunny. She still drives, still works. She's got more energy than I have. um,
Oh,
but it's, I think one of the things that we need to stop buying, and I call it the CNN effect, is when they take a pimple and make it a volcanic eruption.
yes.
We have to stop buying the soap opera hysteria, the
Yes.
drama, da 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 dum, and it's just like, for God's sake, can't you just tell the news matter of fact without everything being so dramatic? And Fox
Yes.
News and CNN, and I'm sure you've got it in the UK as well.
BBC,
Right,
yes.
exactly. And everything is a
Yeah.
drama. And that
Yes.
is so bad for us because it stirs up all the negativity in our body, which forms an imbalance. And how can you
Yes.
have clarity? How can you embrace spirituality? How can you step into heart if
Yes.
everything about you is off kilter?
That's right. It's such a difficult time because I think that we are being so bombarded with stuff and it's other people's opinions, but
Oh,
also we have to remember it's other people's biases.
yes, yes.
We see the world through filters. We all see the world through filters. And so when somebody is reporting something, they are doing it not only through their own filter, but the filter of the culture of, whoever they're reporting for. So I
Mm,
think we have to really be careful. And this is where I feel like now more than ever, we really do need to tune into our own intuition, to
yes.
our own knowingness, to our own wisdom, because only then are we going to be able to sort of slightly, zone out all the other
Mm-hmm.
sounds of what is and isn't going on and actually discern what is right for us, because that's what needs to happen instead of buying into what other people are telling us, because they are telling us from their perspective, their
Mm,
biases, but also what we're hearing. Like you say, sometimes it can be overly dramatic,
mm,
sometimes it can be under dramatic,
yeah,
sometimes they can report something in such a way which minimizes the
yeah.
truth of what really happened or is happening. And so, what is the antidote? The antidote is what is within us, because we do have the ability to know. And also, what you might need to know might be different to what I need to know.
Exactly.
You might need to hear something different to what I might need to hear. So we need to remember that.
What's the invitation in it? Whatever we hear, if it gets a rise out of us, is it
Hmm.
anger? I mean, our emotions are here for a reason. They're here to
Yes,
indicate something. They're not to get
exactly.
stuck in. But
That's
if
right.
I'm angry about this, what am I angry about?
Hmm.
Is there anything I'm empowered to do?
Yes.
Who can I reach out to be a part of? Or how
Hmm.
can I contribute? I always
Yes.
say, even during Haglas, disruption, chaos, and whirlwinds of what's going on, there's always an invitation in there.
Yes. Always.
And if we look for the invitation, we will actually
Yes.
understand where the creativity is in order to find
Yes.
the solution.
Absolutely, absolutely. Inherent within any
Mm,
situation is a solution, but it's also, the two sides of the coin. There is
mm,
that which can lead to more stuckness,
yeah.
or that which can lead to creativity and therefore expansion.
Mm,
A
yeah.
way out of that situation and into something else. And, part of, what's been going on in the world is we've been yo-yoing,
Yeah.
back and forth from one extreme to the other. Um, or staying stuck somewhere in the middle. And I think it's about transcending.
Yeah.
The invitation will lead to an ability to transcend the two polarities into something expansive, something better, and that will lead to its own different
Mm,
kind of challenges, but that will come later on.
right.
So it
Um,
is about transcending.
and it is about balance, but it doesn't mean everything perfectly balanced.
No, not at
If
all.
it's got to be, what we're wanting to have is not the extremes, extreme up, extreme down. What we're
Yes,
wanting to have is that lovely flow, like when
yes,
we look at a sound wave, even
yes,
the ocean waves, even
yes.
our DNA is turned,
Exactly.
it's about that movement that is in sync with each other. And then
Yes,
then we can ride that wave and see what we're meant to see and do what we're meant to do. But when things go extreme and off kilter, how do we have clarity? How do we know what to do? Because we are out of balance in every way.
that's right. That's right. And we can't get back to it without managing our emotions. Like you say, our emotions, we're energy, and therefore
Mm.
energy has to keep flowing, and
Yes.
our emotions have to keep flowing. So it's about, allowing our emotions to open up. An understanding of something to go, okay, this doesn't feel right because it's making me feel angry or making me sad or making me feel upset or whatever it might be. And then engaging the mind, and engaging the intellect to say, okay, what needs to happen for me to come back to that center, to allow the emotions to begin to flow again and not stay stuck in that feeling of whatever it might be.
Do you
And then
feel
we
it?
can move through it.
Right. Yeah. Do you feel that a lot of people, I think it's slowly changing, but do you feel a lot of people are still living by the society's expectation, and that you're only important if, you're only popular if, and people will only like you if,
Mm-hmm.
and that really when we come down to it, spirituality is about living life simply, in the moment,
Yes,
in the gift of the present, and
yes.
understanding the abundance that's in every now. And if you're always chasing an
Mm-hmm.
expectation, you're going to be perpetually lost.
Yes. Absolutely. I do think it's changing, but I think it's changing in a very small number of people. They're growing.
Mm.
But if you look at the world overall, I think there are far more people still holding on to the old
Yes.
paradigm. But that shift is happening very quickly now, and more conversations are being held. And I feel that that is what's going to change people's mind, because they've never thought about it in a different way.
Right.
And so just being able to hear a different perspective or a different concept is allowing them to go, actually, I never thought of it, never heard of that before, but now I've heard it, it resonates. So I
Yes.
think people are waking up on a resonance sort of
Yeah.
level, but
Yeah.
not, they haven't necessarily got there, on an intellectual level. They still want proof, they still want validity, they still, even those who are spiritual are still looking for that sort of sense of who am I, and getting that validity through, their status, what they do, having a level of security. So it's a bit of a journey for us all to go on, I
Yeah.
think. But
Yeah. A lot of spirituality has just become another church form.
yes,
you know
right,
and and
exactly.
and it's all about barriers, and
Yes.
when we look at love and we look at
Mm.
God's love, God's
Yes.
energy. It is always about fluidity. There aren't any boundaries.
Exactly.
Right. The only thing is that you've got to rise up to get there.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. And, you know, part of what's needed is to step out of our ego. You know, the part of us that separates us, it is the eternal I, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we all have it, but it's about allowing the I to be about action. So it's
Yes.
I am going to do this, but we are all interconnected. You know, we are all interconnected, and so not letting that realization disappear from consciousness, even while we are doing the I, while we're being the I in the world, because we're here separate individuals for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
if we look at the cellular structure in the body, how many billions of cells are in the body?
right.
But what causes disease is obviously imbalance and stress and maybe chemical, etc. But it's when the cell structure starts breaking down. Now, if we look at us as a society, as a human society, you know, it is imperative that we keep our cell structure nice and plump and juicy and healthy, because we're part of the collective whole. We don't want to bring our negative or our detrimental energy to that platform, because it will just not be accepted. You know, you can't bring that negative to that love. That love won't let it in. But while you're on that journey up to it, you know, it's keep yourself. So it's very, very important that you do willingly work on yourself. Be selfish to a point of making yourself abundant, because then your cup can run over.
That's right. Absolutely. We cannot give from an empty cup.
No.
You run dry eventually.
Yes.
Yes.
And
one
desperate.
of exactly. One of the things that I say is that healing ourselves is the greatest gift we can give humanity.
Yes.
And it's not being selfish to make time for ourselves. It's not being selfish to put ourselves first in terms of genuine needs, you know, as opposed to what we need from an ego perspective of, well, this will make me feel better. No, it's about what do you need in order to heal the parts of you that have become fragmented, that have become disparate, the parts of you that have become, you know, lost somewhere, you know, in conditioning, in thoughts, feelings, beliefs that don't serve anymore. And we need to do that.
Changing the channel.
Yes, exactly.
I'm really, I mean, if you think about the old-fashioned dial, you could get the in-between. And now digitally, it's this or that. You know, we kind of need to go back to the dial, because sometimes it's like the Harry Potter and the station 9.5.
Yes. Not quite one or the other.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
So, it's where is the space between the space? And where is the information in the silence? And until you're willing to go into that space and into that silence, you're not going to hear what you need to hear, because we've always got too much static around us.
Absolutely. And anything that is, you know, anything where we've had our minds made up, you know, blocks creativity. Because creativity arises out of the silence, arises out of the space. Creativity is that which doesn't exist, or certainly not to our conscious minds, that allows that, you know, to sort of come in. So we need to be really fluid and flexible with our mindset, with our thinking, with how we experience and approach life, because that's where the magic is.
Oh, yeah. When you step into allowing, when you're willing to go with the flow, you know what you need to know when you need to know it. And then it's like, aha! Oh boy, I was doing it the difficult way, when really all I needed to do was this, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, just, you know, lean back and relax and let it come to you, instead of feeling like you have to chase it all the time. Yeah.
So how do you help people get there?
So really, like I say, it's difficult to put it into words, but really it's about allowing people to tell their story. And in doing so, you know, I'm able to feel into what's really going on beneath that story that they've been holding on to, because that is their mind made up. Any story we have is our minds have been made up about something, and we see it as a truth, we see it as a fact. And so, you know, the journey that I take people on is to begin to let go of that way of thinking and believing, and to see it from a different perspective. And as I said, you know, when they hear it, when I say, well, have you thought maybe that wasn't really what happened? Maybe it might have been this. When they hear it, their whole bodies respond to the truth, because what they have believed to be true was just a story. And what I might say might be a different story, but it's a story that might serve them better.
Yeah.
And so all of life is made up of stories, but it's about getting to keep on exploring stories until you get to a space and place. It's getting a little bit dark. Till you get to a space and place where there's a real truth, an unshakable truth, what I call the space and state of gold.
Yeah.
And part of my, you know, the journey is that there is discipline involved. There is, you know, real reflection, excavating old stories, old beliefs, whether it goes, you know, back to their childhood, whether it goes back to ancestors, family history, but also past lives, because we're all energy, we continue consciousness. Also culturally, what people are holding on to. I invite them to learn to meditate, because meditation gives them a real experience of letting go of the conscious mind and the physical thought-filled mind, and allows them to go into the heart space, where it opens up a portal to the universal intelligence, and therefore opens up the space for space, which is where creativity can enter, and they no longer need to hold on to stories.
Right. It is what it is when it is.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
Now, meditation, a lot of people think has to be cross-legged on the floor, you know, and it isn't. It's just finding a place where you do not hear your chatter.
Yes.
Right. Finding a place where you are relaxed. It could be a walk in nature.
Yes,
you know, it could be cycling out there. It could be art. It could be singing. It could be dance. It's wherever you can feel yourself immersing yourself into the activity without thinking, so allowing your thoughts to come.
Exactly, absolutely. I'll tell you a funny story. I had a real moment where, you know, I was washing up, and for the first, and you know, it being a teenager, sort of, you know, a whole load of dishes that I had to wash up, and I remember hearing myself having a thought, and I remember thinking, oh, that's so interesting. While I'm doing this, I'm actually having a thought, and I became cognizant of the fact that I was having a thought. And that was such an interesting moment. It still stayed with me, because I think even doing something like that can be meditative.
Yeah.
If you are willing to allow the mind to just slow down enough to step outside of the perpetual thinking, because meditation is just that.
Yeah.
It's a willingness to let go of the repetitive thoughts that we're not even conscious of, that then allows space for something new to enter.
Right. Yeah. I've always got a movie going on in my head. Right. And you know, sometimes I get stuck on continuity, and it's like, let it go. This isn't a regular movie. It's going to go here, there, and everywhere, you know. And is there a common thread? Sometimes it doesn't make any sense. That's okay. You know, it was like doing its thing while I'm doing my thing. And it's knowing what your thing is, you know, knowing how you are going to receive, you know, what space do you need to be in.
Yes.
And that is part of your own self-discovery, of knowing what that is, and allowing. Don't dictate. You know, there's a funny thing on Facebook, somebody cross-legged, and they think, hurry up, I haven't got all day, you know. You know, meditation doesn't come that way, nor does the spiritual doors open just because you say open it. I always say to people, please feel your knowledge.
Yes.
Don't think it, feel it. When you feel it, you understand the thoughts. If you've just got the thoughts and it's not connecting to a feeling, or it's causing a negative feeling, it's just thoughts. So feel your thoughts, then you'll actually understand what they're there for.
Absolutely. That's exactly how I teach people to meditate, is to actually move the thoughts into a feeling
Mm.
space. And because then you're tuning into a vibration,
Mm.
and it is that vibration that allows change to happen, because vibration, as you said, people who are spiritual are vibrating at a higher
Mm.
level and a different hertz. And
Yeah.
so one way to change the landscape of your life is to bring about a different vibration and
Yeah.
keep tuning into it on a daily basis, and you will change the nature of your reality.
Mm. Be that wonderful instrument that you can then bring to the orchestra, right?
That's right.
And
Yes,
that's what
absolutely.
self-discovery is all about, isn't it? Is that
Yes.
I'm a middle-aged woman, British born, lived here, lived there, doing this, doing that. This is just the vessel I'm in, and this is
Mm-hmm.
the vessel that I'm using, to
Yes,
do what I'm doing. But I am so much more than the vessel.
that's
And
right.
and that's, I think we've got to kind of realize that everything in the world, in the universe, is energy. It's particles, it's
It is.
frequency, it's math.
Yes,
It's
it is.
everything. And if we constantly walk around thinking we're it,
Yes.
we're limiting ourselves, because when we can step outside of our bodies and allow ourselves to travel, then we
Mm-hmm.
truly understand what is out there and how we can work with it to go through our journey
Yes.
of life.
That's right. And also, that is, so powerful in reducing fear,
Yeah.
because fear is limited to the 3D, fear is limited to the physical body, and a sense of needing security, a fear of death, and all the rest of it. Whereas when we start stepping out into the cosmos, like you say, when we're able to recognize we're energy and we're part of the universe, and everything is limitless, everything is infinite
Yes.
ultimately, then we stop worrying about, have I got enough? Am I enough? Is this enough? Are they enough? And suddenly we realize everything is as it should be.
Stop dictating. The thing is, on your canvas of life, you can paint what you would like to feel. Not, I
Yes.
want this and I want that. No, I would like to feel this in
Yes.
my life. Paint that on the canvas, and then just step into that energy and allow and pay attention.
That's right.
But
Yes.
we, as
And
human beings, it's absolutely everything opposite to what we've been taught.
well, I think that's it. So part
Mm.
of the work is, releasing all the conditioned sort of things that we've learned growing up that become so deeply embedded in us because we learn it on an unconscious level.
Yes.
And it's so true. And so really, we need to start educating the people who are teaching, and people, the children of the
Yes.
future. And in fact, a lot of children are coming out into the world who are very knowing, aren't
Yes.
they?
Oh, the
Very
indigo
knowing.
kids. I mean,
Yes.
they are just, the thing is, they're so very much present in their
Yes,
presence,
they
and
are.
they're so beautifully profound. And if we can get off this hierarchy that,
Hmm.
I'm an adult, so I should know more, and listen and nurture this beautiful
Yes.
seed that is growing, they are
Yes.
our future.
That's
Right?
right.
And they're going to stabilize our world. And so let us
Yes.
nurture them so they can do that, because we need them.
We really do. We really do. So, they rely on adults to look after them on
Mm.
a physical level.
Yeah.
But I do think more and more children are definitely coming into the world to teach us,
Yes.
how to be innocent again, how to
Mm-hmm.
have that level of purity, and how to question, to question ourselves, to question society, to question structures, to question, you know, a way of being that may not be appropriate anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, the animal kingdom, I think, is doing the same, because we're seeing species
Yes.
of animals that are supposedly not meant to go together. And,
Yes.
and you're seeing that because, it's all vibrational love. They don't see
Yes.
the differences in them. They work on frequency.
That's
Right?
right. They
And
do.
nature and frequency, and you see an animal mother, other species of animals, because they've been left behind. And you're seeing so many cases of people who have abandoned babies, which is horrible, but
Mm.
dogs finding them and
Yes.
staying with them. And, this, I'm the protector. And
Yes.
if we just also tune into our animal kingdom. It can
Yes.
teach us back to simplicity. You know, it is,
Yes.
I think it's when we stepped into the intellectualization of everything that we
Yes.
lost that connection. We became rather what I call highfalutin. You know, the
Yes.
intelligence is everything. No, the knowingness of how to use the knowledge is where the intelligence is. And you could
right.
have a lot of data in there, but if you don't know how to use it properly in a way that benefits others and yourself,
Yes.
then what does it serve? Whom does it serve?
Absolutely. And it's not sustainable for
No.
the person who's following that
Yeah.
path, because they may think, well, it serves me for a very short time, but it's very short-sighted.
Yeah.
Because, you know, regardless of what your beliefs are, you know, you are part of the universe, you are part of the whole. And therefore, if you're acting, you know, against the whole, then eventually that's going to have an impact.
I mean, this is why we're seeing, especially over here in North America, backward thinking in our
Yes.
politicians, in our leaders, etc.
Yes.
And we're seeing that it's become the neon sign saying, what? We didn't go this far to go backwards. And
Yes.
the fear, you know, of them wanting to take everything backwards is a fear of losing control.
That's right.
Right? But
Absolutely.
how do they have control? We gave it to them.
Yes.
Right? So if you stop giving away your power and start empowering yourself and each other as a community, they cannot control you.
That's right. Absolutely. And that's why I feel like, you know, the more people get in touch with their truth and become more discerning, they are going to then feel confident to reclaim their power, to make decisions, and to stand up for what is right, and to stand up for what is right regardless of whether other people are with them or not. Because you'll be surprised when somebody really stands up. You've only got to look at the riots now. Not condoning that at all, but when one person was able to go, you know, actually, no, I don't think this is right, so many other people stood up.
Yes.
And I think that we need that, because the only way we're going to reclaim our power is to have that level of trust and confidence in ourselves, but more importantly, in doing what is right and knowing what that is in each moment, because it's fluid. It is textual. There is no one right thing across the board.
No. I mean, you know, a meal isn't just a lump of meat or a mashed potato. You know, it's a, you know, a good meal has many ingredients in it for it to really have its balance, and how it nurtures you, how it tastes good, makes you feel good. So we have to look at what are all the ingredients. You know, here in North America, they're talking about dismantling the police. And the thing is, certain aspects of the police we need to have. But we do not need the police policing communities where people are emotionally, or, you know, maybe have disabilities or Alzheimer's or this or that. That doesn't need the police. That needs people who understand what they're going through and help them out. Unfortunately, the police have just become I see a problem, let's shoot it. You know, and that thug mentality is no longer trusted. And, you know, we have it here in Canada, where we're Aboriginal as well. So, you know, the thing is, racism we have to look at and understand it's being somewhere inbred in all of us. And, you know, Black lives do matter right now, most certainly, because we have to stop this perpetual killing. And we've had even more deaths since then, shooting from police. And it's like, when are we going to wake up? It's the same thing with guns. The NRA has far too much power. People will ban a product or a substance if it's detrimental, but guns seem to still have power. Why? Because they support government and finance. And so what we're looking at, the structural corruption has to change. And the only way it's going to change is us stepping up, standing up, and saying, no, I want to see caring, kindness, compassion, love, you know, community, collaboration. I want to see all of that come together, because we're not going to take this disruption anymore. And that means first you, then bring you to the table.
Absolutely. And the more we clear our heart spaces of all the old ancestral stuff, all the
Yes.
old stories, all the old beliefs, why is it continuing? Why is this situation with Black lives,
Yeah.
continuing? Because it's a remnant of the slavery,
Yes.
and because we haven't cleared it from collective
No.
consciousness.
No.
And only when we clear stuff from our consciousness, from our collective consciousness, as well as our individual consciousness, only then can we bring about change. All the violence, all of the things, it's all part of our consciousness. It's part of all of us. Like you say, racism is within all of us, whether we like it or not. It's not enough to say that we're not racist. It is important for us to look at where it's coming from.
Right.
And it's the stories that we're still holding on to, all of us.
Yes.
All of us are holding on to it. So all of us have to start doing the work so that we can begin to come back to what humanity is really about, which is group, which is community, which is the tribal energy, which is people working together and being inclusive and recognizing the importance of each and every single strand of life.
Absolutely. That's where the strength is. That's where the enlightenment is. That's where, we will grow and explore and really, so we don't need to get into a rocket ship and go to the universe. We can do that by just raising into our own frequency, and we can go and leave body behind, go travel,
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't want to get into a rocket ship and be shaken about, just step out of body.
Exactly. And be in eternal peace.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about the universe. It is everything and nothingness, that it's weightless and it's just supreme. It's very hard to describe to anyone, really.
Yes.
But it's wonderful to be there. The DNA, we have the DNA of our parents, our ancestors, but we have the DNA of past lives.
We do.
And we have the DNA that is culturally imposed upon it.
Yes.
So, you see an awful lot of people go and do who are, who am I, looking back at their history and seeing a common thread run through their family. Now, if it's a good thread, hold on to it. If it's a bad thread, it's time to snap it,
Exactly.
And it's then comes back to your own self-discovery of your own self-identity, your own cell identity of, am I my ancestral past? Or recognizing that that was a trend in there that I do not want to see continued, well, then I have the power within me to stop it now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now, what's happening with the planet and with the frequencies and the energies, everything is amplified.
Yes.
So once upon a time, you might have had to meditate for thousands of years in order to let go of something. And you might have had to work, lifetime after lifetime in order to clear stuff. Whereas now things are so amplified that I think anybody who's willing to do just even the smallest amount of work on themselves, whatever it is, meditation, whatever they're willing to do, I really feel that because of the amplification, they will get there so much sooner, because the universe is ready for us to get there quicker.
We're poised for it, aren't we?
We are. Yeah. We're so poised for it.
Yeah.
And so now is the time to do it. There's never been a better time than right now.
Right. Right. And it's also realizing what instrument you are. I'm a fifth dimensioner. I'm here to open that door, that gate, show people all the other beautiful dimensions and people that can get them there. That's my role. And it's understanding what is your role, oh, you're like so-and-so. No, I'm not. I'm just Sara. I'm happy being Sara,
Absolutely.
and in the imperfect Sara, that, this is just who I am, and not everybody's cup of tea, and, somebody's cup of coffee, and that is to understand to stop comparing.
Yes.
Stop competing.
Yes.
You are enough. You are beautiful in your own design.
Exactly.
Understand what that design is. What is your meaningful purpose? What is your instrument that you're going to bring to the orchestra? Stop looking at and going, I wish I was like so-and-so. I wish I was like so-and-so. You're not. You're like you. Love you.
Exactly. And, and to let go of the idea that you're going to be happy if you have what somebody
Yeah.
else has,
Yes.
because that's been the destruction of society, because we've all become so homogenized. We all think that the path to happiness is what everybody else
Yeah.
has, and it's just not.
No.
Because we all have our own unique sort of destinies contained within our hearts, and and our heartbeat is so unique, so individual, and when it beats, it's whispering to you, it's telling you who you are, why you're here, how you fit in. And so, when we learn to listen to that, we find the source of happiness. Because anything we think we want, whether it's to be like somebody or to have something that somebody else has, it all comes from wanting to be ultimately, truly happy, joyful, whatever you want to call it, to have a contentment. And I really think that, we need to recognize that that comes from tuning into ourselves and being ourselves, being our true, authentic selves, because that is where joy lies.
We have fingertips DNA. We have our
Yes.
own DNA strand that identifies us.
Yes.
So are you not getting the picture that it doesn't matter if you look like someone else? You have an individual DNA. And that
Exactly.
means your heart, your soul, your spirit is individual as well. So take
That's
the time
right.
to discover who you are. And
There you go.
that is, where the gift lies. It's in you, waiting to
Exactly.
come out.
Exactly. Exactly. The answer's been in you all
Oh,
along.
no.
We are all looking outside for
Yeah.
answers, but it's within us.
Yeah. And your job there is to help people open up that door and see
That's
inside.
right.
And not see
Absolutely.
inside with ridicule or persecution or judgment,
No.
but to see, beyond, it sounds gross, take the eyeballs out, give them a good clean, put them back in and see yourself differently.
Absolutely. Or turn them around and,
Yeah. Yeah.
change your
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and gratitude is a huge, beautiful energy that puts us on a right track too, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Well, it's that frequency,
Mm.
because when you tune into frequency, because energy can only occupy one space at a time, as we know. So when you're tuning into gratitude, you're tuning into a frequency, and that frequency overrides all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And so, and we all have a lot to be grateful
Oh,
for. It
yeah.
doesn't matter what our circumstances
Hmm.
are.
Yeah.
So,
That if we can't always choose what happens to us, but we can choose
that's
how
right.
we react to it.
That's right.
And this is why, some of the stories that I share here is extraordinary, how people found the strength and the courage to go through what they went through, coming from
Yes.
where they have. And it's like
Mhm.
extraordinary that they are now people that are sharing so much, giving so much, being so much for other people. And
Yes.
and those people say, do I interview celebrities? Yes, those are my celebrities. You're my celebrity.
Yes.
You embraced your journey. You
Yes.
went through your process to become who you are, so you can help other people on their journey. That
That's
is
right.
something to be celebrated about.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we all have that.
Yeah.
Like you say, everybody's a celebrity in their own right, because they've been through their journey, and they've you know coped with everything that's gone on. They've managed everything, whether they've done it with happiness or not, whether they've done it with gratitude or not. The fact is, they've lived through it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and now they have a choice, whether they want to continue living in that way because it does serve them, or if they want to change that.
Right. And to understand, abstaining from a choice is a choice.
Absolutely, absolutely, passivity is a
Mm.
choice.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do people, what kind of program do you offer? What do you do with someone when they come to you and say, okay, I'm yours?
So I have a number of different offerings. So, because of what's been happening, I have a lot of online stuff. So I teach meditation online. It's a very specific meditation, hard alchemy. It's about going beyond. So it's even for people who've been meditating.
Mhm.
It's about how to deepen that practice. But if if you've never meditated, it can still be for you, because it's about tuning into the vibration and the energy of the heart. So that's one of the things that I do. But I'm also running a masterclass. You talked about animals, but with a friend of mine on animal communication, understanding that there is so much communication that goes on heart to heart, whether it's from people to people or from animals or nature, because even when discovering nature has a heartbeat, the planet has a heartbeat. So, so that's one of the things I do. So, or mentoring. I also do one-on-one mentoring, and I have a number of programs coming out online. So we're just getting it all sorted now, but there's a platform where people can go through my prosperity workshops, which is about health, wealth, love, passion, and purpose.
Yeah.
But
All
all of
beautiful
it comes
ingredients.
back to the heart. Thank
Yes.
you.
Heart
Yes,
ignited, heart ignited. You know, how
exactly.
if you don't find your meaningful purpose, you haven't ignited your heart.
That's
Then we say
right.
to someone, but your heart isn't in it. No,
Yes,
it doesn't matter
yes,
how technical you are, how good you are.
exactly.
If your heart isn't in it, you're not going to give it your all. It's not going to come from that place of love and truth.
That's right, exactly. And that's the difference between, when you play a particular musical instrument
Mm-hmm.
and you play it beautifully, where it moves people,
Yeah.
because when you're tuned into that hard energy and you come and you resonate, you're not thinking about it, you're feeling it.
Yes.
And that is what creates beautiful harmony in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what I'm loving, what I'm seeing nowadays is so much change in business. And
Yes.
where it has been for so long, profit at the expense of people and planet, that is
Yes.
changing. It's changing in industry, it's changing in governments, it's changing in the teachings, in the coaching. And that
Yes.
the more you empower the people, the more
Hmm.
you respect the planet, the more creativity that comes out of it, the more profit you will see.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
you'll understand the profit isn't just ka-ching,
That's right.
it's the profit of harmony within the people that are working for you, the music they're sending out to the clientele, and the
Yes,
clientele that are rippling it out to other people. So a
exactly.
total win-win. So it's an absolute delight to see how in business now, I mean, what you're
Hmm.
teaching can go to people in any walk of life, doesn't matter what they're
Yes,
doing, and that
that's
then
right.
bringing this practice into what they do,
That's right.
right? Bringing
Yes,
themselves and all the
yes,
beautiful abundance in what they do, look
that's
at
right.
how it serves them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And businesses are realizing that it
Mm,
was a very short-lived success when you're not actually, putting value into people, because they are what makes the business,
right.
whatever the business is.
Yeah, and seesaw, right? Where,
Exactly.
I think one thing COVID has done, it's done quite a number of things, but one of the gifts that it's given is the fact that we are now looking at the janitors. We're now looking at the
Yes,
shopkeepers, the bus drivers, the truck drivers, the garbage people, the nurses and the doctors. We're looking at them and understanding they are our everyday heroes. That without them we wouldn't eat, we wouldn't have this, we wouldn't have that, and that they're there, underpaid, underappreciated, and that
that's right.
that our appreciation and gratitude towards them now feeds them, not just
Yes,
hopefully in an increase in salary, but in that gratitude of their service. It changes
yes.
the energetic structure within them.
Absolutely. Suddenly they feel seen, and that's so
Mm, yeah,
important, because for so long, these people have not been seen. So many people have not been seen,
yeah,
because we only see those who sort of, get to what we consider the top, the
yeah,
celebrities and fame and a level of success that is undeniable. But, there's success in so many different
yes,
ways. We just have to redefine it.
yeah. And what happens to a lot of those people at the top? They become the ivory towers, and they're
Exactly.
so in their gilded cage, out
Yes,
of connection with what's going on. They don't realize their foundation is crumbling.
that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, it is not about how high you go, it's about how round and people you bring into the fold.
That's
That is
right.
where the true strength is. So
That's right. Absolutely. And that's what's needed in the world,
yeah.
for people to become inclusive, for people to become embracing and to become connected. You know, like you say, COVID has brought out a lot of
Mm.
things, good and bad. And I think one of the things is we realize we need people.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
need people. You know, what you say to anybody, what are you missing? Are you missing going to a restaurant? Are you missing, you know, this? No, I'm missing seeing my loved ones. I'm
Yes.
missing holding, hugging them, you know. That's been the biggest pain for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
Zoom doesn't cover it. It's
No.
lovely that we've got the
Yes.
technology,
Yes.
you know, very grateful for it, but it's not the same as physically being with somebody and holding them and hugging them, and, you know. And so we realize that, you know, what matters is people.
Yeah, I've warned my kids I'm going next week, over for a week where all my kids are going to be there, and I've warned them. I don't hear any moans or gripes. I'm putting my arms around you, and I'll only let go when I've had my fix. And you can moan and gripe as much as you like, but be prepared, this
That's
is
what's,
going to happen.
well, if they know you, they're expecting
Yeah,
that
yeah, they
anyway.
are. You know, we're all in their 30s, and you know, but it's like, you know,
Yes,
mom.
yes, enough now, yeah.
Yeah, no, 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 no. My generator isn't full yet.
Exactly,
Yeah, and
exactly.
you know, that is the gift of the body, isn't it? The
It
touch,
is.
the taste, the feel, the being able to hold something, the being able to physically experience something, and when you merge it with that spirit and you dance together as a whole, then you
Yes,
truly are living, you know,
that's right.
completely.
That's right, absolutely. Yes. Being able to see them physically. There's a difference, isn't
Yeah,
there, to the
yeah,
flatness of
yes,
seeing them, you know, through videos and, you
yeah,
know, so
yeah.
yes,
So,
absolutely.
is your book out?
No, it should be published this year.
Good, good.
Yes.
You have to let us know when. We will make sure that we put it out there.
I
Um,
would love to. Thank you. Yes, that would be amazing.
Now, how do people sign up with you? And
Uh,
do they have a conversation with you beforehand? You know, how does it work?
So, if they want to sign up to my newsletter on my website, which is hemavyas.com,
Will you spell
and
that for people, love, just in case they have
yes,
to know?
yes. So it's Hema, Hema, and it's a V for victory, Y for yacht, A for apple, S for sugar, hemavyas.com. Then they will get all the information of all the different things that I'm doing, including the meditation course, including the animal communication. They will get a free guided meditation, because, you know, we sometimes need help when we're not
Mm,
able to switch off our minds.
right.
So guided meditations are good for that. So they'll get a free guided meditation as well. And if they want to have a mentoring session with me, I do Zoom calls, and they can set up a 20-minute call with me just to sort of talk through where they're at, what's going on for them, what their challenges might be. I will give them some feedback. If it resonates with them, then we can go ahead and set up some sessions.
Right. So you're opening the door to them, letting them experience it. You're switching them on.
That's right. Yes,
And they can't stop
absolutely.
feeling something's going on in here.
Exactly. Something's changing for
Yeah.
the better. Yep,
Yeah, yeah,
profoundly. Yeah.
that's wonderful. Much
Yeah.
needed. You know, as I said, a
Mhm.
lot of people are on that bridge right now. The bridge is breaking off from the third dimension. And it's, you know, I
Yes,
want to feel different. I want to have a more meaningful purpose in life. I want to be a part of something. I want to
that's
be
right.
enough in my own life and in the lives of others. And this whole dialogue is out there. What is the Black Lives Movement right now? They want to be enough in their own skin,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
You know,
And not be projected on for the
yes.
history that they've experienced, the
Exactly.
history that they've gone through.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
And, you know, I wrote a blog called, you know, I Wish for a Colorless World. And it's not that I wish everybody is one color, or that I don't respect the historical skin that you're in, because it's part of your culture, it's
Yes.
part of your makeup. But I wish we could see each other from the inside out. Because
That's
for me, that's, you know, I don't care if people are black, white, think polka dot. You know, I look
Yes.
at, do I feel your heart? Do I feel your
Yes.
spirit? And I think if
Yes.
we look at that, then the skin becomes secondary.
That's right.
And that's where we need to get. We need to get to the point where the skin is secondary and not the first judgment. It's no judgment at all. And it's secondary. It's part of the culture of who you are. Like I'm a blue-eyed, blonde or gray British person. That is part of the culture I am. But it doesn't
Yes,
define who I am.
that's right.
It's who I am from the
Absolutely.
inside out. And that's where I would like us to get to. See each other from our hearts and our souls and our spirits.
Absolutely. And that's so beautiful because that's exactly how I grew up seeing the world. I
Mm,
didn't, what was really interesting as a child was, I didn't see myself as different. I
right.
didn't see myself as a color. I didn't
Mm,
see, all I saw was how I could feel
yeah.
somebody and what I could do with that feeling. And that, and I therefore I never felt discriminated in any way, shape, or form,
Right.
not for the color of my skin
Yeah.
or my background or my cultural beliefs. What I was discriminated against, interestingly, was my thoughts, my sort of
Yeah.
the fact
Yes.
that I believed that everything was connected, that the
Right.
heart, mind, body, spirit, all was all one. And that's where I was the most challenging, interestingly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, most certainly have gone down that road for sure.
Yes.
People going Twilight Zone, white coats. Yeah.
Exactly. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But a beautiful world where all colors, but
Mm,
we feel the energy before we make any
yeah.
assumptions about anything,
Yeah.
because we all have so many different features and
Yeah.
different,
We
traits.
see the gold first.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. I love that. That's right. And we
Well,
feel the gold.
and remember gold is, even though it can be solid, it can be melted into any form,
And
and
it's soft,
it's
real pure
soft,
gold.
and it has actually various colors to it as well.
Exactly.
And it can hold treasurable things in there, like your
Exactly.
gem. So yeah,
Exactly.
let your heart be filled with gold, and don't forget to pour it out onto everyone else.
Absolutely. Let that be the vibration that, informs the world
Yeah.
about who you are.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. It's been, your divine presence has been beautifully fluidly golden, so thank you.
As
And
has yours, Sarah. Thank you.
I hope people reach out to you, because we all need help along the way. We all
That's
need it.
right.
Our journey is our own journey, but we need the wisdom and the knowledge and the tools and the skills to help us walk it in a way that we will get to where we're meant to get faster. And you've taken that journey, and your gift now to people is that beautiful gift of filling their backpack with the right knowledge, right? So,
Absolutely.
I hope people reach out to you. It's hemavyas.com, and reach out and just have that conversation, take a meditation, dip your toe in the waters and see if it's the
Exactly.
right fit for you. And unless you are willing to participate in your own life, nobody's going to be able to help you at all. So thank you, Hema.
Thank you, Sarah. Been a delight. Thank you.
Until next time, folks, remember, you are the solution, you are the change, you are the awesomeness that we're all waiting for. So until next time, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows, and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.